Okay, today's topic would be the petty cash book, and it will be presented again by Mr. James. What you learn today, you learn how to format for the petty cash book, and how to record transactions in the petty cash book, and how to analyze the transactions. We will not go into the posting of the petty cash book or the balancing of it today. We do that at a subsequent presentation. Right. First, we will look at the format of the petty cash book, and as you can see, it is a book, and it has pages, and the pages are ruled up like this. So all the pages. This is page 1. And like the cash book, which we did last week, it is divided into two sides, one for payments and one for receipts. The difference is it only has one details column that both sides of the book utilizes. So the payments and the receipts, both of them use the details column here. So if we notice, this $150 that we received from the cashier here by check utilizes the same column that this payment of $32.62 for stationery uses. Okay, and we have one column for date. Again, both sides of the book will use the same date column, and this column for the folio or the voucher. The folio in this case is for the receipt side of the petty cash book, and the voucher is for the payment side of the cash book. On this wing here, we have the analysis columns, and these would vary from business to business, what they have small payments for. In your case, for your exam, the names of the column here is usually given to you, so you don't have to worry about getting these columns. Sometimes you can have 3 or 4. The purchase ledger, this is for when you buy goods on credit. You have more than one supplier, and you will enter the amounts from the payments column in here, and the folio for it goes in this column here. Okay, so the folio for the payments column should be over here for your purchases ledger. Okay, if we remember, the purchases ledger is where we have the creditors, their personal accounts are there, and we have more than one of them, so you need to identify which page it is going into here. Okay, we'll see more of that later. All right. At the end of a period, the payments column is added up, and each one of the analysis column is added up, and the total that you get here is balanced with this receipts column here to get the balance carried down in a normal way, and the balance is brought down into the next period. Okay, now this amount here that we start off with is called the float, and the petty cash book follows what is called the imprest system. We will talk a bit about the imprest system before we begin to enter any transactions in the cash book. Uh, Okay, how the imprest system works? So the petty cash system or the imprest system is a system that most businesses use for their petty cash. Okay, how it works is the petty cash is given a certain amount of money called a float at any one time, and the maximum amount is called the float, or sometimes it's called the imprest, right? And the size of the float is determined by the manager or the owner of the business if it's a sole trader, and the petty cashier would make payments out of the float. Right at the end of a period, designated period, sometimes the period is 1 week, sometimes a month, depending on the number of payments you have out of the petty cash. But at the end of the month, the payments is added up, and the petty cashier would be reimbursed. The word is reimbursed. That means he would be repaid the amount from the cash book that he has paid out, so that he comes back up to the amount of the float for the next period. Okay, that is called the imprest system. If at first you don't understand it, after you write up a few cash books or petty cash books rather, you will begin to understand how the system works. Okay, so from the float, what happens is the petty cashier makes small payments for things like newspapers, traveling, postage. Okay, and at the end of the month, the amount of the payments is totaled and repaid from the cash, so that the float is replenished. Okay, now because most small payments for newspapers and for traveling and so on, when you travel in a taxi, you don't get a source document. No receipt or bill is made out. The petty cashier makes out what is called a voucher for each payment, just in case you don't get um, a source document. And that is evidence that the transaction has taken place. Uh, Petty cash voucher looks something like this. Right, it will carry a number, and the number will go in sequential order. so that you don't miss out any. And there will be a place for someone to authorize the payment with a signature, and the person who is receiving the money would sign there. Okay, so if perchance you get a source document with the payment, it is attached to this petty cash voucher and put into the records as your payment. Okay, so for each payment made, the petty cashier will make out a petty cash voucher, and that would serve together with if you have any other evidence that you have made the payment by a source document. Right, now for security reasons, petty cash is kept under lock and key, right? Because although the amount may be a little, what if you keep replenishing the float every time it is paid out or used up? What happens is it could amount to quite a sizable amount if someone is pilfering from their petty cash. Right. We want to look at some transactions. We have here an example. The owner of a business decided to maintain a petty cash book with an imprest of $150. The following transactions occurred. Okay, we have the date and the voucher number and the transactions here. Okay, now it is already done on this here, so we will just go through the transactions one by one and see how you write up the book. Okay, now the first thing that will happen is the petty cashier will receive a check from the cashier for $150 because that is the amount of the float up here, right? That takes place on the first day of the month. So we come to our petty cash book and we will record it as a receipt. The petty cashier will get it as a receipt from the cashier. So he will enter it here. And the details here, you could write check or you could have the word bank as well. And the folio would be petty cash, sorry, cash book 6. That would be the page number of the cash book. The first transaction that takes place is you buy stationery for $32.62 on the second day of the month, and you issue voucher number 1 for it. Right? What if you get a bill for this? It would be attached to this voucher. And you will record it in the cash book. This time you are paying money, so you enter it in the payments column. And the details is stationery. It takes place on the 2nd. And the voucher number is number 1. Okay, we move to the next transaction. On the 8th, you have postage of $26.29 taking place. You buy stamps or something like that, and it takes place on the 8th. You issue a voucher number 2, right? We put in the payment in the payment column, 2629, voucher number 2, and postage 8. Next transaction, travel expenses 1840. Okay, notice the amounts are not huge amounts. And voucher number 3 on the 11th. So we come to the petty cash book, we enter it 1840 in the payments column. Voucher number 3, travel on the 11th. On the 15th, we have another payment for 1183. Voucher number 4, 15, date is the 15th. So we come to our petty cash book, 1183. Voucher number 4, details is postage, and the date is the 15th. Okay, so it's not too difficult, a little bit of rocket science, and you could get this thing correct, right? Next transaction on the 15th, sorry, the 20th, we have purchase ledger. We paying our creditor $20.70, and that's on the 5th. Sorry, the voucher number 5 we use for that, and it's on May the 20th. So we come in and we put in the amount again, 20, 5, and the Morris on the 20th. Okay, next transaction, stationery, 1137, 6, voucher number, date 23rd, and we enter the amount, the voucher number, stationery in the details column, date. And our last transaction, travel expenses, 911, 7, voucher number, and the date 27, and we come payments, voucher number, travel 27. Okay, we get to the end of the month. What we want to do then is analyze our transactions, and we decide we're going to analyze them into stationery, postage, travel, and we will always have the purchase ledger here in case we pay some of our creditors, right? Now, like I said before, different businesses could have different things that they analyze their transactions into. So we come to the first one and see it's a stationery. We'll put it in the stationery column. Okay, then we go to postage and we put it in the postage column. Travel, we put it into the travel column. Again, we have postage we put it into the postage column. And Morris is a creditor in the purchases ledger, so we will put him in the purchases ledger here, and we will have to give a folio for him. Page 4. And stationery, we extend it into the stationery column. Travel, we extend it into the travel column. Okay. Now, some people prefer to do the analysis as they go along with the transaction. Okay, as they write in the transaction here in the payments column, they extend it right away. Nothing wrong with that. You can do it that way too, and it should still work out to the same thing. Okay, or you can do all of your analysis like I did at the end of the period. Okay, when we are finished with the analysis, we have to total the columns. We total the payments column here, and we total each one of these columns here. And as you may have figured out already, if you add these figures across here, you should get the total here, right? Okay, then final step, we will put in the folios for these here. Notice they are not the names of persons, so they will not go in the personal ledgers for the creditors or the sales. Okay, they go in the general ledger. GL is for general ledger, and 6 is for the page number. So on page 6, we should find the stationery account that we're going to post it to. And similarly here, page 8 is where we will find our postage account in the general ledger. Page 9 is where we will find the travel account in the general ledger. Okay, and that would bring us to the end of the recording and analyzing part of your petty cash thing. Now I have here an exercise for you to practice what you just learned. I'll be putting this up in the classroom. You can go there. It becomes available at, I think, 10 o'clock today. So for the rest of the session, you would be working on this, all right? These are the analysis columns. And this is the float, all right? Don't balance it. We will learn how to balance it at the next class. Okay, and these are your transactions here. So you're doing part E and part B, right? Okay, so you have to